The world is full of business advice. So the question you might be asking is, why should I listen to this chick? Well, if you haven't watched the first video in this series, I want you to pause this right now and go back and watch that video because I talk a little bit about my successes and failures over there. Then come back and join us back here and keep watching here. So the next question you're probably asking is, okay, Whitney, I want to grow my business, but where on earth do I start and what do I really need to do? I hope I can help you answer that question today. The truth is, there are only 7 basic things you need to know to run a successful, profitable business. Business does not have to be complicated. You do not need a degree to do this. Sometimes the gurus out there make it seem a little bit confusing or complicated, but it really comes down to these 7 basic systems that you need to know how to operate to make your business work. The main question I want you to ask yourself today as we talk through these systems is, do you have these systems in place? Now, I'm going to get to talking about the systems in just a minute, but before I go there, I want to talk about why the systems are important. Most small businesses fail not because the owner or entrepreneur doesn't have the passion, drive, or knowledge to make it work, but simply because the owner doesn't understand these 7 systems and they don't have standard operating procedures in place to keep these systems running. A few years ago, I had a light bulb moment about creating systems that work. The amazing thing about my light bulb moment is that it led me to a paradigm shift that you can apply to your business today. If you do this today, you will start seeing changes immediately, I promise. Once you understand this paradigm shift and start applying it to your business, you'll never look at your 7 systems, your 7 business systems, the same way again. The paradigm shift is this: don't put the system in place that starts something. Put a system in place that runs something. Big difference. Starting something and running something are 2 totally different things. And all too often we build a great website and just leave it there. We need to build the system that runs the website. Okay, now there's one very last important thing I want you to know before we get into the details of each of the 7 business systems, and that is this. The most important thing that each of your systems needs to have is a key metric. That means the measurements or the trackers that will help you determine where each of your business stands. Key metrics will help you determine the health of your systems and ultimately the health of your business. Here's the even better news about this. You don't even have to be the person to track the metrics. We will talk about different types of key metrics as we talk about these super important systems. But I would like to encourage you, if you're not a numbers person, which I claim to be as well, I would love to encourage you that you can delegate this in the future. You can delegate the metrics in the future, and we will talk about that in the next video. Okay, I bet you're very curious about what the 7 basic business systems are, so it's time to start talking about those. The first basic system that you need to learn is a customer system. Does that sound maybe a little bit weird? Well, you could call it a couple of different things. You could call it a plan for customer acquisition, or you could call it a lead generation system. But whatever you call it, you need a system that not only gets your customers in the door, but a system that helps them experience your business once they're on the inside. You also need to learn how to think about things from your customer's standpoint. This is a huge paradigm shift that can make or break any business. Now, a big mistake that a lot of startups and small businesses make is spending money on advertising or spending a lot of time building their social media presence and not considering or taking the time to build a system that takes care of their customers once they've already purchased from the business. We think a lot about getting the customers in the door, but we don't think as much about taking care of them after they're in the door. Now, what does the key metric for a customer system need to look like? Well, let me ask you this. What's your goal? Do you want more customers or do you want better customers? If you want more customers, your key metric would simply be the number of customers you acquired each month. If you want better customers, you need to define what better means to you, and then you need to use that answer to determine your key metric. Okay, so that wraps up the first business system, customer. Now, the second basic business system you need is a system for your products. And here's a huge mistake I see companies make: starting with one product and forgetting to build supporting products around that. Your product system needs to be a funnel system, and that is also something we go into very in-depth inside the Biz Designers course. Unfortunately, this is one of the biggest mistakes I made in my first business. I had one product that did really well, and I didn't realize that that product couldn't support the rest of my business. Figuring out your product system is going to be absolutely essential for you to build a profitable and sustainable business. A key metric for measuring your product system might be the number of sales that specific product has, or the number of inquiries you've received about a particular product. Conversions, the number of inquiries as compared to the sales, is also a key metric. Next, the third basic business system that you need in place is a system for running a website. I used this example earlier, so I'm not going to try to, I used this example earlier. Now, I'm not going to try to convince you to build a website. I think everyone knows that a website is essential in this day and age, no matter what kind of business you own and operate. But you do need a system in place for keeping your website fresh and up to date, and that's harder than it sounds. This means that you need a system for learning and implementing SEO, or making sure your website is optimized for search engines to find it. What should your key metric be for your website? Well, depending on what your website goals are, your key metric might have something to do with traffic. You might be looking at the number of conversions on an email opt-in form. You might want to have a key metric related to Google rankings, page views, or site visits. Now, the fourth basic business system that you need is an email system. And I'm not just talking about setting up a new Gmail account or even setting up a MailChimp account. I'm talking about a system that keeps you organized and on track for nurturing your email subscribers, for collecting email subscribers, and then also nurturing them. And I don't mean this like in a cold, impersonal kind of way. When someone signs up for my email list, I want them to feel like they are getting an email from a friend when I email them. Now, typically, email subscribers are an audience that is all too quickly forgotten about business owners and underappreciated. So it's important to get to a place where you can nurture your email subscription list. And a key metric could be the number of new opt-ins or the open rate that you receive on your emails. Providing value in your newsletter is going to create a higher open rate than just sending out a blast every now and then. Now, the fifth business system that you need is a system for ongoing content. Back to that website example of a website that's just sitting there because there's not a system to run it. You need to think about what kind of content you're going to generate that will help keep people coming back to your website. And I'm not just talking about blogs here. There are a lot of other options for creating online content, and you might want to maximize some of those options. You could even create videos or podcasts and do a YouTube channel or a podcast. You don't necessarily have to have all of your content posted on your website. No matter what, you do need a system for creating consistent original content. So figuring out what works for you and your personality is going to be incredibly important. A simple key metric for creating new content could be how many new pieces of content you've released every week or every month. Or if you're looking to measure the quality of your content instead, you could measure the number of comments or shares on social media related to that specific piece of content. What was the engagement rate and what was the response on that content? Those could all be key metrics for your content system. Now, the sixth basic business system that you need is a system for social media. This ties into content a little bit. I know everybody knows what social media is, so let's just talk about the key metric that you want to use to measure your social media. A simple key metric for social media might be the number of followers you have. And while that's easy to track, I want to encourage you to think about your engagement level and not just your follower count. How many comments, questions, and interactions do you have? Consider tracking your engagement level instead of your follower count if you really want to build an engaged following and a profitable and sustainable business. Now, there's only one system left. That is our last and seventh basic business system, and that is administration. Now, this is my least favorite system and probably the most important system. So what is an administrative task? What does that even really mean? Anything related to HR, hiring, taxes, lawyers, bookkeepers, or accountants. Not the funnest stuff, but crucially important to have in place. As far as key metrics for administrative systems go, there can be quite a few. You can track sales and dollars and profits. And of course, CPAs and accountants and bookkeepers love tracking all of those things for you. Where you are in business is going to dictate the activities and tasks that you need to do to get to the next level. So it's really important that you figure out where you are. And I would like to actually invite you to join me in the next video where I talk about the 5 different stages of business and help you figure out where you are so that you can figure out what you need to do next to get to where you want to go. Now, you might be thinking it can't be this easy. How can these 7 business systems actually transform my business? And I'll say this as an entrepreneur, business owner, and boss who loves chasing the next idea. When I got these systems put into place in my business became more fun. It freed me up to do the fun things, do the stuff I love to do, work on the things that I started my business to work on in the first place. An analogy I love to use for this example, an example I love to use for this is that of a car. If the car isn't working, it's not going to be any fun to drive. And if your business isn't running, it's not going to be any fun to work. Business systems are the fundamentals, and getting them right will make a huge difference in the health of your business and, quite frankly, your health as a person. At the end of the day, you want your business to be profitable, but you also want to have a life and you want to enjoy it. Business systems are the pieces that give you the time and energy to chase the new ideas, the fun stuff, the clarity to make decisions, and the confidence to help you take your business to the next level. That's it for now. Thank you so much for being here and joining me. Addressing these key areas is how I transformed my business and my life. Now, in the next video, in the final part of this series, I'm going to help you figure out what stage your business is in so that you can map out your next steps to creating a profitable and sustainable business that I know you want. I'd love for you to leave a comment below on which system you're most afraid of digging into. For me, it's that 7th system of administrative tasks. But we can do this together and we can have fun doing it. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today, and I'll see you soon in the next video.